Chapter 16 of The Cruise of the Snark. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Catherine Oliver. The Cruise of the Snark by Jack London. Beche de mer English. Given a number of white traders, a wide area of land, and scores of savage languages and dialects, the result will be that the traders will manufacture a totally new, unscientific, but perfectly adequate language. This the traders did when they invented the Chinook lingo for use over British Columbia, Alaska, and the Northwest Territory. So with the lingo of the Kroo boys of Africa, the Pidgin English of the Far East, and the Beche de mer of the westernly portion of the South Seas, this latter is often called Pidgin English, but Pidgin English it certainly is not. To show how totally different it is, mention need be made only of the fact that the classic PC of China has no place in it. There was once a sea captain who needed a dusky potentate down in his cabin. The potentate was on deck. The captain's command to the Chinese steward was, "Hey, boy, you go topside, catch ye one PC king." Had the steward been a New Hebridean or a Solomon Islander, the command would have been, "Hey, you fella boy, go look 'em I belong you along deck, bring 'em me fella one big fella marster belong black man." It was the first white men who ventured through Melanesia after the early explorers who developed Beche de mer English, men such as Beche de mer fishermen, the sandalwood traders, the pearl hunters, and the labor recruiters. In the Solomons, for instance, scores of languages and dialects are spoken. Unhappy the trader who tried to learn them all, for in the next group to which he might wander he would find scores of additional tongues. A common language was necessary, a language so simple that a child could learn it, with a vocabulary as limited as the intelligence of the savages upon whom it was to be used. The traders did not reason this out. Beche de mer English was the product of conditions and circumstances. Function precedes organ, and the need for a universal Melanesian lingo preceded Beche de mer English. Beche de mer was purely fortuitous, but it was fortuitous in the deterministic way. Also from the fact that out of the need the lingo arose, Beche de mer English is a splendid argument for the Esperanto enthusiasts. A limited vocabulary means each word shall be overworked. Thus, fella, in Beche de mer, means all that PCs does and quite a bit more, and is used continually in every possible connection. Another overworked word is belong. Nothing stands alone. Everything is related. The thing desired is indicated by its relationship with other things. A primitive vocabulary means primitive expression. Thus, the continuance of rain is expressed as rain he stop. Sun he come up cannot possibly be misunderstood, while the phrase structure itself can be used without mental exertion in 10,000 different ways, as, for instance, a native who desires to tell you that there are fish in the water, and who says, "Fish he stop." It was while trading in Isabel Island that I learned the excellence of this usage. I wanted 2 or 3 pairs of the large clam shells, measuring 3 feet across, but I did not want the meat inside. Also, I wanted the meat of some smaller clams to make a chowder. My instruction to the natives finally ripened into the following: "You fella bring me fella big fella clam kai he no stop, he walk about. You fella bring me fella small fella clam kai he stop." Kai is the Polynesian for food, meat, eating, and to eat, but it would be hard to say whether it was introduced into Melanesia by the sandalwood traders or by the Polynesian westward drift. Walkabout is a quaint phrase. Thus, if one orders a Solomon sailor to put a tackle on a boom, he will suggest, "That fella boom he walk about too much." And if the said sailor asks for shore liberty, he will state that it is his desire to walk about. Or if said sailor be seasick, he will explain this condition by stating, "Belly belong me walk about too much." Too much, by the way, does not indicate anything excessive. It's merely the simple superlative. Thus, if a native is asked the distance to a certain village, his answer will be one of these 4: close up, long way little bit, long way big bit, or long way too much. Long way too much does not mean that one cannot walk to the village. It means that he will have to walk farther than if the village were a long way big bit. Gammon is to lie, to exaggerate, to joke. Mary is a woman. Any woman is a Mary. All women are Marys. Doubtlessly, the first dim white adventurer whimsically called a native woman Mary, and of similar birth it must have been many other words in Beche. The white men were all seamen, and so capsize and sing out were introduced into the lingo. One would not tell a Melanesian cook to empty the dishwater, but he would tell him to capsize it. To sing out is to cry loudly, to call out, or merely to speak. Sing Sing is a song. A native Christian does not think of God calling for Adam in the Garden of Eden. In the native's mind, God sings out for Adam. Savvy, or catchy, are practically the only words which have been introduced straight from Pidgin English. Of course, pickaninny has happened along, but some of its uses are delicious. Having bought a fowl from a native in a canoe, the native asked me if I wanted "pickaninny stop along him fella." It was not until he showed me a handful of hen's eggs that I understood his meaning. My word is an exclamation with 1,000 significances. Could have arrived from nowhere else than Old England. A paddle, a sweep, or an oar is called washi, and washi is also the verb. Here is a letter dictated by one Peter, a native trader at Santa Ana, and addressed to his employer. Harry, the schooner captain, started to write the letter, but was stopped by Peter at the end of the second sentence. Thereafter the letter runs into Peter's own words, for Peter was afraid that Harry gammoned too much, and he wanted the straight story of his needs to go to the headquarters. Santa Ana, Trader Peter has worked 12 months for your firm and has not received any pay yet. He hereby wants 12 pounds. At this point Peter began dictation. Harry, he gammon along him all the time too much. I like him 6 tin biscuits, 4 bag rice, 24 tin bullamacao, me like 2 rifle, me savvy look out along boat. Some place me go, man he no good, he kai along me. Signed, Peter. Bullamacao means tinned beef. This word was corrupted from the English language by the Samoans, and from them learned by the traders, who carried it along with them into Melanesia. Captain Cook and the other early navigators made a practice of introducing seeds, plants, and domestic animals amongst the natives. It was at Samoa that one such navigator landed a bull and a cow. "This is a bull and a cow," he told the Samoans. They thought he was giving the name of the breed, and from that day to this, beef on the hoof and beef in the tin is called bullamacao. A Solomon Islander cannot say fence, so in Beche it becomes fennis. Store is sitor, and box is bacchus. Just now the fashion in chests, which are known as boxes, is to have a bell arrangement on the lock so that the box cannot be opened without sounding an alarm. A box so equipped is not spoken of as a mere box, but as a Bacchus belong bell. Fright is the Beche for fear. If a native appears timid and one asks him the cause, he is liable to reply, "Me fright along you too much," or the native may be fright along storm, or wild bush, or haunted places. Cross covers every form of anger. A man may be cross at one when he is feeling only petulant, or he may be cross when he is seeking to chop off your head and make a stew out of you. A recruit, having toiled 3 years on a plantation, was returned to his own village in Malaita. He was clad in all kinds of gay and sportive garments. On his head was a top hat. He possessed a trade box full of calico, beads, porpoise teeth, and tobacco. Hardly was the anchor down when the villagers were on board. The recruit looked anxiously for his own relatives, but none was to be seen. One of the natives took a pipe out of his mouth. Another confiscated the string of beads from around his neck. A third relieved him of his gaudy loincloth, and a fourth tried on the top hat, and omitted to return it. Finally one of them took his trade box, which represented 3 years' toil, and dropped it into a canoe alongside. "That fellow belong you?" the captain asked the recruit, referring to the thief. "No belong me," was the answer. "Then why in Jericho do you let him take the box?" the captain demanded indignantly. Quoth the recruit, "Me speak along him, say Bacchus he stop, that fella he cross along me," which was the recruit's way of saying that the other man would murder him. God's wrath